He looks very happy with his shoes anyway, doesn't he? Charles Pellegrin is with us here on set. He's got slightly smaller feet. He is considering today International Workers' Day, of course. We're going to start with a new report by Oxfam. It's highlighting a harsh reality for the workers around the world, isn't it, Charles?
Mm-hmm. Almost as wide as the gap between my size of feet and this man's size of feet.
Exactly.
Oxfam International, the NGO focused on fighting global poverty, is raising the alarm on the fact that the growth of shareholder dividends is easily outpacing that of wage growth. Between 2020 and 2023, payouts of dividends to shareholders have increased 45%. Meanwhile, workers' wages have risen by just 3%. And this is adjusting for inflation based on data from 31 countries that account for about 80% of the world's GDP. And perhaps even more alarming, if we are to exclude China from this data, global real wages have actually fallen by 3% during this period. Well, on this, Oxfam International's executive director, Amitabh Behar, says millions of people hold jobs that trap them in a cycle of working hard while still unable to afford enough food, medicine, or other basics. The super rich don't amass their mega fortunes by working. They extract it from people who do.
And speaking of corporate profits, the e-commerce giant Amazon has seen its profits more than triple in the first quarter.
Net income at the company reached $10.4 billion in the first quarter from just over $3 billion this time last year. Well, what's behind this? Well, growth in advertising revenue after ads were introduced to its streaming platform and increasing demand for its cloud computing business, especially for generative artificial intelligence purposes, and also a lot of cost cutting. The company has laid off over 27,000 employees since late 2022. Interestingly enough, going back to that first item we discussed, the dividends, Amazon has so far never paid a dividend to its shareholders, instead choosing to use its profits to further grow the company.
Markets time now. Let's bring you up to date with what's happening on them, Sean.
A pretty easy day today because it's Labor Day, so the CAC 40 in Paris and the DAX in Frankfurt are closed, but the FTSE in London is open, and it is currently, well, that should have been showing something else, unfortunately, there, but you see it's closed for the CAC 40 and the DAX in Frankfurt. Don't take into account those figures on an air, but the FTSE in London is up just over 0.2% higher. The major focus is the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate announcement later this Wednesday as its Monetary Policy Committee meeting ends. The central bank there is anticipated to keep borrowing costs unchanged in light of hotter than anticipated inflation.
Our markets board has the day off, quite right. Here in Europe, OpenAI is under fire for alleged breach of EU data privacy regulations.
Privacy advocacy group NOYB, short for None of Your Business, filed an official complaint this week with Austrian officials over allegations that the Microsoft-backed startup's flagship program, ChatGPT, regularly hallucinates incorrect information about real people as part of its responses to user queries, mistakes that OpenAI is apparently unable to correct. Brian Quinn has this.
Trouble remembering birthdays. For many people, it's a mild social handicap. For ChatGPT, it's grounds for a data privacy complaint. Austrian privacy advocates NOYB, for None of Your Business, have filed an official complaint there against OpenAI under the EU's landmark GDPR rules. NOYB says the Microsoft-backed startup's blockbuster AI chatbot regularly hallucinates false information about real-life people, like the birthday of notable privacy activist Max Schrems.
I actually have a right under the GDPR that my data is correct, and if it's not, I can have it corrected. We tried this with ChatGPT. We emailed to tell them it gives the wrong birth date for me. What do they do if they want to correct it? And the answer was that they can't. It just stays incorrect.
It may be a structural problem. Generative AI is built in part on statistical probabilities of what the next word in a sentence will be. It's generally not programmed to admit when it doesn't have the correct data. Flubbing a birthday may seem trivial, but NOYB says generative AI's tendency to take wild guesses will take on increasing importance as the technology is used to automate research and administrative tasks like hiring decisions and credit scores. They're seeking an investigation and a dissuasive fine, Fines for GDPR violations can reach up to 4% of a company's annual global revenues. The New York Times has found that AI chatbots make up information between 3 and 27% of the time.
Still a lot more work to be done to really improve ChatGPT there, it seems.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks very much, Sean Pellegrin with the business.